I worked the night shifts cleaning bathrooms and floors, and I remember feeling completely out of control. I had no idea what I was going to do with my future. I had no idea who I was. I had no clue at that point in my life. That was a very disempowering time, for sure.
You want to know where real empowerment comes from? It comes from self-belief, self-worth, and skills. If you have marketable skills, like Kev, I could take everything from you right now, and you'd still be Kevin, and you'd still figure it out because you're empowered.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1684. Insecurity is a strange thing. Freestyle Friday. Freestyle Friday with a Freestyle Friday title.
Very nice.
Had to do it. Today, for episode number 1685, what is empowerment? Okay, I need to change my screen here real quick. Okay, then I'll make us full screen again. All right. What is empowerment? The definition of empowerment: the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. Empowerment is a word that we hear and that gets thrown around very often. I like to think of it, and I'm not saying the dictionary is wrong, I like to think of it as feeling more in control of your past, present, and future. Past, because you can look back on it and say, it's not, you're not a victim of your past. You have control over it. You can look back and say, okay, these are the things that happened to me, but this is what I took from it. The present, you're empowered in the present. You're working on yourself. You're tracking habits. You're sticking up for yourself in your relationships, all of that stuff, which ultimately leads to you having more control of your future. The issue, I think, when it comes to empowerment is, unfortunately, many of us have people around us that do not want to see us empowered. Or, I won't even say they don't want to see us empowered. It's very, very hard for them to allow us to spread our wings, because that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to stick around for very long. So I thought doing a little episode on that would be what we do today.
Well, sometimes you being empowered highlights the lack of empowerment of someone else.
That's true.
So, what's a good example of this? Kevin and I, way back, I don't remember what episode this was, but this had to be 5 or 6 years ago. We were in a Muay Thai gym, and we interviewed someone named Julian Wynn. And when it comes to podcasting, this man was extremely mousy. I'm just going to be honest. He was not a strong podcaster. He was not a strong speaker. He did not practice effective communication his entire adult life. And that was very obvious. He did a good job, but he doesn't podcast for a living. He doesn't do that often. And the cool part about this, I'll never forget this experience, because we went from our arena directly into his. And so on the podcast, he wasn't super empowered. He was humble, he was kind, he was honest, but he struggled. And we were very empowered asking questions because we had done this, dozens of times by that point, if not hundreds. Then we went into his arena. So Kev went to throw hands. Hold.
He held mitts. Julian
mitts.
held mitts for me, and he did some shadow boxing. He did some bag work for us, so we could get some video of it. Yeah.
And so he went from reasonably empowered around several other competent, empowered podcasters, but definitely not his arena. Not a lot of reps. Not big and powerful in that episode. I remember when he threw on gloves and he did his wrist wraps, and he was just, I saw a whole nother version. It was really cool to see that contrast from a soft-spoken, fairly mousy, very humble, not super competent person to this, oh, you could kill me easily.
Unassuming, I think, is a good word. Very unassuming on the podcast, and then it's like, oh, no, yeah. This is what you do. Okay, yep, makes sense.
This is what you do. See, we just went from what we do to what you do. And we reacted the way humble people react, which is, oh, okay, student. I'm going to be a student here, and I'm going to learn from him. And you got in the ring, and it was a really cool moment. That was a dream.
The dream come true.
Yeah, dream come true. Very cool.
Ever since I was a young boy, okay, when I was a young boy, I used to love fake wrestling. The wrestling you see on TV, the fake one. In the ring, they jump through tables and all that happy jazz. One of my dreams as a young boy was to be in a ring eventually. I didn't know where it was gonna come from. I didn't know what it was gonna be, but that was a dream come true for me, and that probably still to this day, that's probably my favorite episode we've ever recorded with a guest. That and Justin Freeman. Justin Freeman was probably my, I don't know, for either first or second, because that was super cool.
There was two other mixed martial artists that we interviewed.
We had
Linton Vassell and
Linton Vassell. Who else? Chad.
There was someone
Robichaud.
that you had watched since early 2000s.
Oh, Kenny Florian. Oh, I forgot
Yeah.
about Kenny. Yeah, no, Kenny's probably number one. Yeah. I was watching Kenny Florian when I was in like high school. Maybe it wasn't that long ago, but yeah, I watched Kenny. Yeah. Kenny, he's a Boston guy. Yeah, big fan of Kenny Florian. Big fan. But
so
go ahead.
I think that's one of the interesting things is we were empowered in our thing, and he was humble and kind. And then he was empowered in his thing, and we were humble and kind. Where it gets wonky is when someone else's insecurities create the opposite, and it creates a bully. There were these high school kids that were being very disrespectful to Emilia and I outside of the gym recently. And I playfully joked with Kev they were so scared of me when I actually called them out for being wildly inappropriate. They almost hit our car, and they were just being dicks. Just high school kids being dicks, showing off in front of their friends. And I made a comment. I rolled down my window. I said something, and basically just called them out and said, hey, that was really inappropriate what you just did. And this dude, and he's tiny, he's half my size, he's in high school, he was so scared, and he just puffed up and started trying to make jokes, but you could see the terror in his eyes. And if I had gotten out, he would have been even more scared, because I'm 6'2" and 200 pounds. But I didn't. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to fight high school kids right now. This is stupid. But I also can't shell up and not say anything, because this was wildly disrespectful. I mean, wildly disrespectful what these kids were doing. It was so unfreaking. It was so bad. But what am I going to do? Beat up high school kids? What are we doing here? Right? So you got to stay at 5. So I rolled down I said, okay, fair enough. Just, take care. Whatever. Move on. My point of all that is when you are in empowered energy, it does trigger challenge. People get triggered by empowered energy, and they want to challenge it, especially if they're deeply insecure. So you and I with Julian, we didn't challenge it. That would have been the worst idea ever.
Definitely.
But most people react very toxic to empowered energy, and that's why a lot of people feel, and I know women deal with this a lot, it's hard for them to be empowered around other men, because they trigger the insecurities of men, and or they trigger the sexual desires of men, this kind of stuff. And men against men, women, it's this whole power dynamic thing that's very challenging. It's very primitive. It's very, who's the alpha dog in the room, bull crap, immature nonsense. And unfortunately, being empowered does trigger people's insecurities, and that's why someone like Beyonce has security guards. Because, yeah, she's empowered on stage, but a lot of these people, when they go home, they're actually not that empowered. It's easy to be empowered as a performer. It's not easy to be empowered in real life. And I think that's the thing.
It's hard to keep it, too. The downside of being empowered is you get opportunities that you've never gotten before, and then you get failures at the new level of those opportunities that you've never gotten before, which is not a bad thing as long as you can keep running that. But I think empowerment it's that it can feel like that liquid courage you get when you have a few drinks. It's like, oh, I can do anything. I'm going to be fine. This is fine. I'll go approach this person. I'll do this. I'll say this. I'll do this. And then you wake up the next day and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did all those things. I think empowerment can be very similar because you're most likely going to do things that you never have tried before. And you're going to get feedback that you've never gotten before. But I really think that's what we're all after. I don't think we're after necessarily confidence. I think we're after empowerment. We're after the deep belief that I am in control of what I create in my life. And I think that's a very, very good goal to get to. That's something I have now that I've never really had. Confidence, self-worth, self-belief, those are all pieces and ingredients in the recipe. But I think empowerment is the connection of all of those. And empowerment is knowing your worth. Empowerment is knowing what you're capable of. Empowerment is feeling in control. And I know a lot of us go through, not all of life, hopefully, but different bouts and different seasons of life, and we don't feel like we're in control at all. And that is some of the hardest times for sure.
You and I, we go for a run together. I'm going to feel more empowered than you.
Definitely.
You and I go to the gym together. You're going to feel more empowered than me if the focus is strength. And so whether it's anything as simple, another good kind of simple analogy is, let's say you were starving, but you know how to fish and you have a boat. You feel empowered to get food that night. Weird analogy, but okay. I remember way back, my stepdad, we were deep sea fishing and the engine broke. He knows how to fix engines. I don't know what to do, so I'm disempowered. And so this is actually the real utility of having skills. But empowerment is, I think a lot of people feel empowered in microcosms of life. So for example, back in the day when I played video games, I was really empowered in Halo 2, but I was nerdy in high school. I was prepubescent, small little boy. And so I was so empowered in a virtual world. I was one of the best in the world. Then I go into high school and I'm not empowered at all. And unfortunately, the arrogance of being in the virtual world, super empowered, can sometimes translate over. And maybe that was valid there. Maybe I was empowered. Maybe I was one of the best in the world. Maybe I earned that confidence in that virtual world. But then I start bringing that confidence into, the cafeteria in school. I'm going to get my ass kicked. And I think that's one of the things that gets really hard is empowerment needs to be so specific to the context. I remember Emilia and I did a 5K once, and I ran it backwards. And not backwards, but like I was jogging next to her, and some of it I was running backwards because we decided in advance I would stay with her. Let's stay together. Let's do a couples thing. And eventually it was like, Alan, can you just go? This is ridiculous. But when we played soccer, she was the one empowered. And so again, I use examples from my own life, but anyone out there listening, where are you empowered? And where are you not? And that's okay.
Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there.
I didn't know what vulnerability was. I didn't understand how to make an intimate relationship work. Now I'm so much more empowered. The Conscious Couples podcast, we coach couples. I got off a coaching session with a client that's doing the hybrid model where Emilia and I coach the couple, 4-way call, and then she coaches the female, I coach the male. The stuff I'm learning, I feel so empowered. It's so obvious now. Oh, I screwed that up so bad in the past. And I see him screwing it up. And it's like, oh, I did that same shit. That's never going to work. So the coaching thing, having a coach, having a trainer, having a therapist, having enough money in your bank account, having the skills and the tools. You want to know where real empowerment comes from? It comes from self-belief, self-worth, and skills.
Certainly.
If you have marketable skills, Like, Kev, I could take everything from you right now, and you'd still be Kevin, and you'd still figure it out because you're empowered.
What kind of job do you think I could get?
You could be a podcast coach.
Yeah, but like say podcasting goes away. What do you think I could do?
You could run businesses for sure.
Yeah, but how? What do I say to them?
All right,
know
so
what I
that's
mean?
another thing. You would have to go and probably do things for free. You'd have to go to a business and say, listen, I see a lot of opportunity.
You got any ins for me?
Of course.
Connect me with someone?
But then
You're talking all
no,
this
but
this big game. No, I want to hand me out. I don't want to have to earn it or anything. I would like you to give it to me.
hand me out. Hand me down?
Give me a hand.
You want a handout?
Handout, yeah.
One of the things, and I'll be brief about this, but handouts don't actually empower.
No, I don't want to be empowered. I just want the job.
Okay. That's a short-term W for a long-term L right there.
Well, we'll worry about the long term later. Let me get the short term W.
Man. Yeah, there you funny. Kevin, you remember back in the day, you were like, let's just get a loan from one of our mentors. They give us the money. It's like, Kev, that's not going to work. I mean, it would work actually.
A quick
really well.
100K would have changed my life. It would have changed everything. It would have changed my lineage.
But your skills and what you learned would have been completely different.
Well, it's fair. I think oftentimes the people that villainize empowerment are the people that unfortunately end up on the short end of the stick. A really good kind of thought process, and again, I know this is potentially trigger warning, but there's a lot of people that are mad about the self-checkouts. Like in all the grocery stores, they're all going self-checkout. That's going to continue happening. And you're either ahead of that or you're behind that, unfortunately. And if you feel empowered where it's like, okay, well, my job is safe. I do something I'm not going to get phased out in the near future. That's very empowering. But I understand when you feel disempowered, you grab for things. You might not want to knock someone down, but you might be grabbing to pull yourself up, and that's just what happens. I've been very disempowered in my past, for sure. For most of my jobs. I've mentioned this. I worked the night shift cleaning bathrooms and floors, and I remember feeling completely out of control. I had no idea what I was going to do with my future. I had no idea who I was. I had no clue at that point in my life. That was a very disempowering time, for sure.
How did you not... That was a really good distinction of sometimes you're not trying to knock anyone down, you're trying to climb yourself up. People have always talked about the crabs in a bucket thing. When you try to grow, a lot of people tear you down, and that's true. I was going to say effing true. That's the most true ever of all time. And by the way, that's not a you thing. You've
been fired up today.
Got to.
Yeah.
It's a thing, man. I see that happening to all my clients. It's so interesting. It's so weird. But anyways, I think that was a good distinction where when someone else is empowered and growing and excited for their future, sometimes people are just grabbing to hold on, not necessarily to tear you down. How did you not tear anyone else down while feeling disempowered? Because that's super rare, I would say. I would say it's rare. It's very rare.
I won't say I never tore people down. I just never did it to them. I would do it like internally, mentally. I would villainize people for their success that I didn't have more than anything. I never really wanted to tear anyone down because I think I knew that wouldn't help me. And I wasn't... Well, okay, let's do this. We've told the story many times, but this is the best example. I was dating someone who wanted to move across the country and chase their dreams, and I told them not to. And gave them a list of reasons why they shouldn't do it. That was kind of me tearing them down. Not from a toxic place, but that is relatively toxic behavior. It doesn't matter if I didn't want to do it from a place of toxic. It still came off that way. I don't want you to outgrow me. Stay small. Don't do it. So that's like the best example I can give.
Did you know you were doing that while you were doing it?
I was so scared.
Did you really think that she couldn't win? Or like, is that what you really believed?
Yeah, genuinely. Because I didn't think I could win.
But you didn't think she could either?
I didn't think I could, so I assumed she wouldn't. I was so scared.
Now what do you think? Now you're more true. Now it's more accurate. You feel like she could have?
She would have been fine, yeah. She did. She went out there and did her thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it worked.
Sometimes it's based on ignorance. You just didn't... You have such a unique perspective because you used to. I never felt like things. If anything, I'm on the other end. I thought more was possible for people than was really possible for people. So I was on the complete other end of this. I've always believed in people and what they're capable of. One of my core values is potential. It's believing in human potential. What human beings are capable of is unbelievable. What they actually do is often disappointing, unfortunately. We're all capable of so much more than we know, I think. Our brains, everything. I could go into it. But with you've been on both ends. So now you're someone who some people would consider delusional. If you were to be truthful and say, we're going to be successful and XYZ, and I'm in control of my future, and I feel like we can succeed, and, that kind of thing. What would this version of Kevin say if he was dating her and she wanted to go?
I probably would have led the charge. Let's do it. Yeah, California sounds great. Let's do it. The hard part is a lot of it was circumstantial. I had this job where I was making so much money, and I remember saying, you don't understand. Like, this isn't a job you just get more than once. I just got it. This doesn't happen. Yeah. You don't understand how statistically rare it is to get this job with zero credentials, where you're essentially working for government or state wages. It's not. This is so rare. I don't make money at this job because I'm good at it. I make money at this job because everybody has to be paid the same amount, and the state dictates what the rate is. My company doesn't want to pay me $75 an hour. It's just the way it works. It just is what it is. That was one of the big reasons for me, because she wanted me to move out there with her. And I said, what am I going to move out there and be a personal trainer again? No, I don't want to do that. I finally feel like I have some certainty. I finally feel empowered.
Yeah.
I finally feel empowered. And now I'm going to move across the country and start this whole freaking cycle over again? No way. No chance. I couldn't do it. So that was a big piece of it too.
What's it like on both ends? Can you articulate what it felt like before versus what it feels like now? I know I ask you this all the time, but
no, you're good. Yeah,
fascinating for sure.
I would say for me, I think everybody has a different experience. For me, feeling disempowered is very hopeless. It's just hopeless. It just sucks. It's dark. It's heavy. You don't feel like things are going to get better. And that's a really, really, really challenging place to live.
Feels like an unwinnable game.
Yeah, the other side.
That's how it always felt for me, like being liked.
Yeah.
Having people who will like me or not hurt me or not villainize me or care about the true me or be able to handle the true me, whatever that is. I don't even know if I know how to articulate it. It felt unwinnable.
It's weird because I feel like I could say the same exact thing you say, and I don't think I would get villainized the same way. I feel like I could take this exact words you say. You and I could do an episode and I could say the same exact thing you say, and I don't think I would get villainized like you.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if it's energetic. You've never not been confident, so I think it's hard to I think it's hard for people to resonate with that. Where for me, I've been all of it. I've been very disempowered and very unconfident and very insecure and all the things in between. And now I do feel very empowered and I do feel the most confident I ever have. And I think my self-worth is the highest it's ever, or the most accurate it's ever been.
Hasn't that energy in me shifted?
What do you mean?
I could be wrong about this, but the level of conviction that I used to say things with was with a different energy. I feel like I'm more comfortable saying my truth, whereas before, it's like I was scared to say it.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid to be villainized.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because I think that's why I was being villainized.
I think it was a piece of it.
Part of it.
Yeah, I think it was a piece of it.
But you think I'm going to be villainized no matter what?
I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay.
I don't. I just don't know.
I'd much
don't,
rather just opt out of the unwinnable game. You know what I mean? Because
I don't know. I was thinking to myself, and we'll do this live quickly. You got to go. You got 3 minutes. This will be like a 1 minute thing. When you were talking about the kids in the parking lot, I was thinking, I wonder what that would come off like if I was saying it. Would it be funny? I don't know. I don't know. I had a moment where I was
they
like,
were super triggered. Like, but I also know that Emilia and I's energy, it's definitely a very empowered.
It's very strong.
Yeah, which
very
triggers
strong
people.
energy.
It triggers people.
I told you this. I said when I go to Alan's house, I used to get anxious. I would like get anxious when I was there. Like Emilia would come into the room and it would be Alan, Emilia, and I, and I'd be like, "This is a lot. this is a lot of energy."
It's like an energy thing.
That's the best way I can explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm with her, everything is. People react very differently when I'm with her versus without her. It's just a lot of. You know how animals are energetic? Like your cats can tell when you're in a low energy versus a high energy.
I wonder if they have any clue what's going on in my life.
Fair.
I really do.
My cats, my pets, they can feel our energy. So if her and I are disconnected, they can feel it.
Mm.
I think humans are like that too. They're just less tapped into it. I don't know. I'm not. That's not my jam. I'm learning that recently. In my 30s, I've kind of started to understand energy and vibe and emotional connectionness. It's not my genius zone, but I do know that that's a factor. I trigger men a lot.
I think you're more empowered than I am. What if is it that simple? I think you're more empowered than I am.
I would say that's fair. I think it's also a combination. I know we got to go, but it's a combination of I'm more empowered, but I'm more insecure about being empowered.
Mm.
If that makes sense. So it's this weird, it's this thing that I'm trying to learn where I'm actually scared to be empowered. I'm not scared to be less.
Yeah.
And I think that you were the opposite. And I think most people are the opposite, statistically speaking. So I always say you're either afraid to be too much or too little.
Yeah.
And I think it's all of us have both, but it's different percentages. So anyways.
As unique as I am on one end, you're equally, if not more unique on the other. And we know the benefits very well. We just don't know all the detriments quite yet. So that's something we're working through behind the scenes together and separately.
Fire.
As always. And in front of the scenes, evidently, in this episode, because that's kind of the way we do it.
Didn't expect it. But
meetup is Thursday the 2nd, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. How to level up your money. If you have not joined Next Level Nation yet and you're looking for a great group of humans, please do. That is our private Facebook group. We do not have tomorrow's episode chosen because we are out here jeffing, but tomorrow's episode will be great. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Stay empowered, but humble. Next Level Nation.